This one's wife, why does she clap like a seal? A quick impression there of this one's wife as she claps like a seal. You can't have failed to notice that whenever this one's wife makes an appearance at an event, that when she starts clapping, she does so in a rather exaggerated manner. We're used to seeing those oversized hands that she has chopping through the air, often when she speaks, as she gesticulates like a pissed-up ninja. But when it comes to the issue of giving applause, they take on a different pose themselves. When we clap, we are doing so invariably to demonstrate appreciation. It might be appreciation for a performance. It might be appreciation for somebody's achievement. Slow clapping is invariably done sarcastically or done out of impatience to cause someone to hurry up to show disapproval. But ordinarily, applause is a positive act of appreciation to say, well done. It may be to show respect also. The problem, of course, for this one's wife is that when she's caused to applaud somebody else, that means that the spotlight is going elsewhere. Whether it is a speaker walking onto the stage, whether it's someone at the Ingriftest Games who's receiving a medal, whether it is demonstrating appreciation for the achievements of somebody in the charity sector, when this one's wife has to applaud somebody else, it's a problem for her. The focus and attention is going to somebody else, and that wounds her. You see, for each and every moment, this one's wife's narcissism needs to ensure that everybody around her is under control. And if an audience is clapping somebody else, that demonstrates that they are not under control vis-a-vis this one's wife. This one's wife can't stand there and suddenly go, "Stop, stop, don't applaud them, applaud me. I'm this one's wife and I'm amazing." That would, of course, result in gasps of shock, condemnation, and would damage the facade. Whilst one aspect of her narcissism may well be tempted through the direct assertion of control to cause her to behave in such a way, her facade management will not let that happen. And therefore, it works to constrain any desire on her part to shout out and direct the applause to her instead. However, there is this inherent battle between the need for control and the maintenance of the facade. Take, for example, a person who attends a dinner party, and his wife is talking to the man to her left rather than her husband, who is a narcissist. This causes substantial wounding to the narcissist. The wife, as an intimate partner primary source, is directing her fuel to somebody else. Thus, in the world of the narcissist, he is being willfully ignored. In an alternative world, she's simply talking to another guest, and she is not ignoring her husband. But through the distortion field that surrounds the narcissist, he sees this interaction as a most traitorous act against him. Accordingly, his narcissism needs to get him to bring her back under control. One thing that he could do, for instance, would be to say, "Talk to me, you bitch," and slap her on the shoulder in order to draw her attention. She would certainly respond, thus bringing her under control, but the problem would be is that the other dinner guests would all go, "Look at him treating her like that," and thus he would lose control of the non-intimate secondary source guests that are sat around the dinner table. Thus the job of the narcissism is to balance both aspects. He needs to get his wife under control, but he also needs to keep control of the other guests. Thus, he leans in and whispers something nasty into her ear, causing her to turn and respond with a crestfallen look that demonstrates that she's under control, provides him with negative fuel, and at the same time, nobody else around the table knows what he's done, meaning that they remain under control. The narcissism has done its job effectively. The intimate partner primary source has been brought back under control, the other guests remained under control, and the facade remains intact. It's this approach that this one's wife's narcissism needs to achieve also. It needs to balance getting people under control, keeping people under control, but ensuring that the facade is not damaged. You've seen in parts passim the instances where her facade fractures, but not with any major consequences. Those around her probably didn't recognise what was going on, maybe didn't even notice the slips that occur of her mask. Yet, when it's a situation where somebody else is being applauded, her narcissism wants her to bring the attention back onto her. The direct route, as I've explained, cannot be done. The facade management will prevent that from occurring. One possibility, of course, is for her to perhaps lean in and mutter something to Prince Harry. Gosh, look at what she's wearing, or she doesn't really deserve this award. Harry may or may not agree, but all that would do is bring Harry under control. What about the rest of the crowd? When she's applauding someone else, despite the fact that the rictus grin is plastered on her face and those large slab hands are wafting through the air, thunderclapping, what happens is she needs to bring the attention onto her. Most people, when they tend to clap at waist level or at chest level, moving their hands in front of themselves. Some individuals, for instance footballers, they gesticulate as they clap towards the audience, towards the crowd, to demonstrate appreciation, saying, I'm recognising all of you guys there, and they invariably do it above their heads. For this one's wife, she engages in the exaggerating clapping of bringing her hands up almost in front of her face, so that they fly through the air, and it's highly noticeable. Why? Because she wants the attention to be about the way that she is clapping. Understand, she doesn't sit there and think, I need the attention, so what I'm going to do is now clap my hands in a very obvious and unusual way so everybody looks at me, or that I'm seen to be enthusiastically clapping so people will think that I'm a good person. No, her narcissism just causes her to do it instinctively. But it is noticeable, as you can see from the various pictures that have been floating across your screen. She repeatedly and regularly engages in this act of putting those oversized hands up high, and it's all done to draw attention to her. Look at me, see how I clap. Aren't I a good person for clapping this other person? They're particularly irrelevant. I'm really important. You can see how important I am because of the way that I clap. Make sure you take lots of pictures of me as I clap in this way so I stand out. There are also instances that not only does she clap in this manner so it looks incongruous next to everybody else that's clapping, but there are instances where she claps where nobody else is doing so. This happened recently at the ice hockey at Vancouver, where there was a picture of her stood up clapping enthusiastically and nobody else was. This again is simply about drawing attention to herself. Look at me, see how I enjoy the ice hockey, although she has no real interest in it. Look at me, here I am at the ice hockey, applauding enthusiastically. You can all see that, can't you? Make sure you take photographs of me. Thus, this ridiculous form of clapping is simply done in order to make it all about her. Thus, she steals the thunder of the person who should be receiving the applause, with the expectation that she'll be commented upon, photographed, and filmed. Thus, she gains thought fuel from it. She also, when she claps, looks around to see who's noticing her, because her narcissism is compelling her to do that to try and scoop up the fuel that might be obtained by people looking in her direction. That's why, very rudely, when she's often applauding, she's not actually looking at the person who's in the receipt of the applause, she's scanning the room because she's searching for the fuel as a consequence of people reacting to her and her flippers. Thus, The reason that this one's wife claps like a seal is to deal with the wounding that's being experienced as a consequence of the applause going to somebody else, and in order to try and make it all about her, in order to regain control of the audience and to receive fuel from them. The pursuit, as always, of the prime aims. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.